Welcome to Ask Gwen, and if you hear any strange noises during this recording, that's because I have workmen outside working on my steps. Hopefully you guys won't hear that, but I hear that because I am sitting inside trying to nicely interview Gregg, and that's my life. So we're just going to roll with the punches on this interview. And Gregg is an author. He's also a coach. And so we're going to speak about his latest book, which is Wisdom, and one of my favorite subjects. And then I'm going to let him interview me after I ask him a little bit about his book and some other baseline questions. And so we're just going to roll with the punches on this interview, you guys, and enjoy. So I'm going to let Mr. Gregg take it away.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Wynn. Good to be talking to you. And my book came about because of my own personal journey and realizing that I didn't want to be kind of dependent on a broken healthcare system when I was just gone through a divorce and I had 3 young children to be responsible for, and found myself in a position where I felt that one of those kind of God forbid something happens to me, what's going to happen to my children scenarios, which had me going down the rabbit hole of looking at ways I could help to keep myself healthy. And the more research I did and the more time I spent, looking into the causes of a lot, especially chronic illness, which is the more preventable type of illnesses. There's many types of illnesses. Some are not preventable. Some are obviously congenital and some are pre-existing. But then the chronic illnesses is the diseases like heart disease and diabetes and so many of these other illnesses that we know now are so very preventable. And so I just wanted to do everything I could to ensure that I would be able to be there for my children. And I have 2 parents that are cancer survivors and a dad with Parkinson's disease. So I just wanted to be as mindful as I could about minimizing my chances, but not being fanatical about my approach. So that led to a number of years of research and learning myself and going back to school, and I have a history in fitness. I used to own gyms, and I ran a health club in California when I was going to college out there. So I had been around health and fitness, but my approach from this book and the last 10 years has been much more around overall wellness, which is not just fitness, which is not just food, but it's the whole spectrum of, what I call the 5 important pillars, which is the food and our fitness and our sleep, and our stress management and mindfulness. And that no one on their own is got all the answers. Sometimes the nutrition folks will think it's all about nutrition, and the fitness people will sometimes claim it's all about the fitness, and all are extremely important. But I found in the research, and a lot of people in the wellness community support the concept of a balanced approach to life, and something that at the end of the day is sustainable. The problem with diets. When have you ever tried diets? Over the last 5-10 years, you subscribe to any diets?
My latest diet is giving up sugar, and I did it, Gregg, cold turkey, but it's really hard when you walk past a vending machine at your local rock climbing gym, which I was there yesterday, and see a candy bar screaming at you. Oh my God, I'm like, what? I just walked right by it and looked the other way. But I'm like, really, when I'm really hungry too, it happens to be right after I climbed the rock climbing the wall, and I'm like, really? Why do they have this to tempt me? And I'm like, this is not cool.
Yeah, it's like they scream our name too. With me, it used to be Reese's peanut butter cups, and I'd get it after lunch. I'd get a hankering, and I'd be like, I could hear it calling me, Greg, come on, you can have me.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. I was like, why? Why? No, I stared at it yesterday. Luckily, the only thing that I didn't have is my wallet with me, which is a good thing because I'm like, oh boy, a candy bar screaming at me after rock climbing, and I'm not kidding. I'm like, oh my God, and here I am trying to be healthy with cerebral palsy and give up sugar, and you guys know that's part of public knowledge, but when you walk by a vending machine full of sugar, it's hard. It's difficult.
And it can still be hard for me. I like to call myself a recovering sugar addict because I have a pesky sweet tooth, and I've had it for most of my life. And, it wasn't an overnight thing to get over, and I still struggle with it. And that's part of the intention of my book and the reason for the title, Progress Over Perfection. It's really not about being perfect. I think when we strive to be perfect, we set ourselves up for failure. I'm speaking from personal experience and experience that I've seen and observed with clients or people that I've studied. So none of us are perfect at the end of the day. We all have our faults, and we all have our addictions, and especially when it comes to food and other habits. So I'm a big proponent of moderation. So it's okay, and sometimes I have to really remind clients that I coach. It's okay to have that ice cream sundae once in a while. It's okay to have that cookie. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition. But the goal over the long term should be to crowd out the bad stuff, the stuff I call hurting foods, if we're going to talk about the food pillar. And those are the, processed foods, the refined sugars, the refined flours, the stuff that when we ingest it, it really is hurting our bodies. Now, in short supply, it doesn't. That's why it's okay to have the occasional candy bar or ice cream sundae or whatever it is that you like. And we shouldn't be denying ourselves permanently that stuff, but gradually kind of crowd in to our nutrition, because I don't even like the word diet. Diets have more than proven they don't work. There's so much evidence, there's so much science that diets, despite what the marketing experts of these diets will tell you, they've just failed. The numbers are there. You can't argue they may work for 6 months or a year. There are some exceptions to, there's always going to be a diet that's worked for certain people, but overall, they really we're not designed for diets. They're unnatural. And that's why their failure rate is so high. And because we're all individual people, right? So we all have different needs and wants, and our bodies are all different. So to take one diet and apply it across a universal population doesn't really make sense. And there was a really good article that was written by a neuroscientist that appeared in the New York Times about why diets fail us. And her argument was that we're just not hardwired for diets. They're just completely unnatural. We should just be eating healthy foods and trying our best to avoid the unhealthy. Fortunately, most of what we see in like a supermarket is unhealthy. Over 70% of what's in your average supermarket really is not even considered food. It's food-like substances. This isn't, when I say that, it's all the processed stuff, all the stuff that's, some people refer to as frankenfoods, laboratory designed. Or they're literally, just imagine test tubes, and they're taking little drops of this and that and putting in this chemical and adding this additive and this preservative and this coloring and this sugar. And so anytime you're dealing with foods that have more than a few ingredients, you really should stay away, because those are the classic processed foods. And when I say this, of course, there's always an exception, right? There's, I'll say canned foods, for example, you want to stay away from for the most part, but there are exceptions. There's canned beans, right? There's canned, legumes such as pinto beans or Great Northern beans, or there's fava beans. There's all those bean families which are really garbanzo is a really healthy bean. So, and that's just it's found in a can, and it just has water and some salt. That's okay. But generally speaking, we want to stay away from that processed stuff. And the same applies to if we move over to the fitness pillar, it's got to work for the individual. So rather than telling someone exactly what, with food, what they should be eating, you got to eat this, and that, rather than eating the healthy stuff that works for that individual, it's just similar with fitness, that just to say, okay, I need you to go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week without even finding out if that person likes the gym. What if they don't like gyms? What if they prefer to walk? What if they prefer to swim? What if they prefer to do yoga? So what we, Simple Wisdom and with the book is what we very much try to impart on our readers and our clients is the importance of the custom factor, that we're all uniquely individual, and that we need a lifestyle plan or a wellness plan that works for ourselves and it's actually sustainable. Because if we try to take on too much, we're too hard on ourselves, or we try to, it's too unnatural and it's not fun, it becomes stressful trying to manage, it's not going to be sustainable. And then what good is it? So you lost your 30 pounds, you're feeling a little better, but it only lasted for a month because you couldn't sustain it. So we are also very much proponents of slow and steady wins the race. And that's backed also by evidence. That's why these crash diets, right? I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I definitely agree. No, I was going to say I definitely agree with you on these crash diets. And granted, I grew up in the 90s, and I had my biological mom lived until I was 23. She died at 59 of meningitis. She did not die of the brain aneurysm. She got a slow-leaking brain aneurysm that we believe started on her birthday. But she was into these diets like there was no tomorrow. The next thing I know, I turn around, she's on the Atkins diet. I don't know what helped that. I don't know what that did for her body, and she also had asthma. So I'm thinking, yeah, you just want to be on a bad diet. I love you, but I'm walking away from the bad diet, and I decided I'll give up sugar this summer, and I'll give up wine next summer. So I'm slowly but surely decreasing the unnatural sugars in my life. Now, I ate a bowl of fruit this morning, and that's natural sugar. So I will not give up the natural sugars, and I will not give up caffeine, but I'm slowly but surely decreasing the icky sugars out of my life without going on a diet.
And what made you want to do that? What was it that got you to the point where you decided you were going to make some changes around and take a closer look at your sugar consumption?
Well, I have a chronic condition called ataxia spastic cerebral palsy. Yes, that's classified cerebral palsy that I have. And my body, when I turned 30 years old, now I'm 31, my body started rejecting sugar. And it started actually on my 30th birthday, June 22nd of last year, not of this year. And so I kept saying to everyone at my birthday lunch, including 2 nurses that happened to be my aunts, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I just left it off. Well, by the time it got to early July, I couldn't move. I could not move, and I could not function. And so I thought, well, let me try a little experiment, and then if that little experiment doesn't work, I will drag myself to the Children's Hospital, which, mind you, it's 4 hours away from me, and drag myself into the CP specialist and figure out why my CP is getting worse at 30 years old and not staying consistent. So I told my family, you know what, I'm giving up sugar for a week and then we'll see how I do. Do you know, after I gave up sugar for a week, I was a completely different woman.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? I have heard that from a number of people, and I love hearing that. And that's really the best testimony. It's how it makes us feel, you know, and that's what's great about that for you, Wynn, is that now you have like a mental memory. You have an experience that's been tangible. So that for a lot of us that have, you know, kind of embarked on a wellness walk, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. I mean, once we've experienced it, you want more. I mean, when I rounded the corner, because I used to be overweight and I had less energy and I would get sick more often. And when I became intentional about improving my wellness through really the research I was doing, particularly on the book, I just got to this point where, wow, I just have more energy. You know what? It's similar to me when I had that terrible sweet tooth at 10 o'clock at night. I would be like ravenously stocking the cupboards for anything sweet. It didn't matter. I just had this felt like a heroin addict or something. I just had to get their fix. And then I just tried to replace that sugar with, maybe natural sugar, fruit, or I would try to just distract myself. I read an article years ago that, when you get that craving, take a bath. Just get out of the habit. Because habits are very much a part of our wiring, right? And my habit was, that late evening snack. And so once I started to break that habit, replace that sugary snack with a different type of healthier snack, I'm not saying it was easy right out of the gate because I still wanted that sugar, but over time, and it wasn't, months or years, within weeks, it became easier. Like our bodies do adjust. Our bodies can, there's studies to back this up as well. That bodies can crave the healthy food just like they crave, maybe not quite with as strong a craving, but we can develop cravings for the healthy stuff too. And I noticed this particularly around greens with myself, and I've seen this with other clients, where as I was eating more greens, and greens, I can't emphasize them enough. They are truly nature's, in my book I call these kind of the rocket fuel foods. These spinach, broccoli, chard, kale, romaine lettuce, any of the green, just go on and on, asparagus, any green vegetable is just so packed with healthy minerals, nutrients, antioxidants, these cancer-fighting sort of properties. They're just so good for us. And I wasn't eating enough of them for years. It just wasn't. And as I became more intentional about incorporating those into my nutrition, my food plan, I started to crave it more. In fact, I would sometimes I remember my office was across from a restaurant, and I would sometimes in the middle of the day just have this craving for spinach. And I'd go over and I'd sit at the bar because it was, if it was out of lunch hours and the kitchen would still be open, and just ask for some sauteed spinach. And they would laugh at me, call me Popeye sometimes, because who comes to a bar and, orders spinach? But I would get cravings, the same way I would get for the sugars. So it's interesting how our bodies can really adapt. And it's a lot of just experimentation. So, I applaud you, Wynn, for, trying that out with the sugar, because those refined sugars, and have to make that distinction, natural versus refined sugars. Natural sugars, I've never heard people getting sick or dying from eating too many apples or oranges or grapefruit. Sure, anything. You can drink too much water and kill yourself, right? At a certain, you can't eat, 150 apples in one sitting, nor would you want to, because you're going to get full. And that's another thing. When we eat the natural foods, they come with fiber, right? That's the biggest thing we're missing when we take the supplements and these refined foods. But we get fiber, and it fills us up. That signals to our body we're getting real food that actually are real calories, not these empty calories we find in boxes and cans. And that triggers our brain to feel satiated and full. So we don't feel like we need to eat as much. So I challenge anybody who's, really feels like, I was, and maybe you were, when, like that sugar craving, to try replacing that with some natural foods and even natural sweets, like all the fruits, and seeing and experimenting with that, seeing how you feel, seeing how what that does to our cravings. It doesn't mean we're still not going to get that craving for sweet. It still doesn't mean that we're going to pass that vending machine and just be able to look straight every time. But it gets easier. It really does over time. And so I like to always encourage people to, be optimistic, and that this stuff really does work. It's just, you have to try it and stick with it, and sort of be intentional about the whys and how do we want to do our best to try to improve the time we have, on Earth.
Yeah, because as I said earlier, my mom passed away young she passed away of meningitis given to her by a bunch of hockey players that came in to the hospital with meningitis. And
wow.
She went into the hospital with a slow-leaking brain aneurysm. Long story there. By the time we discovered the slow-leaking brain aneurysm, because doctors didn't diagnose it correctly, as they always do. Now, I have spoken to experts in detail about brain aneurysms, and they're diagnosed as the flu, basically. And that's what doctors diagnosed my mom as. So, and because doctors are not trained to spot brain aneurysm. And so, she went into the hospital with a, brain aneurysm and died of meningitis. But during that time, they fed her intravenously and, through a G-tube, and I'm not kidding. This woman loved vegetables like there was no tomorrow. So the fact that they fed her a whole bunch of sugar intravenously, I got so pissed at. I'm like, you guys should know better. And this was the doctors and nurses and everyone else that fed her intravenously a whole bunch of sugar. And I'm like, well, if she was not in mentally indisposed, she would kick you guys. She would kick you guys because she loved her veggies like there was no tomorrow. And I grew up, funny enough, I grew up eating the broccoli at age 6 first before I ate the sugar. And so I'm always into my salads and always into the veggies and the greens and the superfoods. And my favorite food in a whole way, well, other than pasta, is hummus. And so, yeah. But I am going to give up the sugar. My next thing is going to be wine, which is going to be a little bit harder than sugar. And then I but I am not giving up the caffeine. No way, no way, no how. Because I can do the sugar, I can do the wine, but no way am I giving up the caffeine. No way. So how I'm stating that clearly on my podcast, no way. You can't give me, you can't make me give up the caffeine, but you can certainly make me give up the wine, because wine has sugar in it. I mean, it's fermented grapes supplying, well, of course it has sugar in it. And so, and now they say all these kids, juices have sugar in it like there's no tomorrow. I mean, I looked at a bottle of cranberry juice, my God. And so I grew up in the 90s, and we did not have Whole Foods. So I could have been a lot healthier person had I not, had I grown up with Whole Foods. But instead, Whole Foods came to me when I was completely growing up, which, I don't think that was very smart, but my mom tried to get as many veggies into me as she could, but I could have been a lot healthier, but we tried. We tried growing up in the 90s and tried to eat veggies as often as we could. I'm more into now, since I gave up sugar, I'm more into the superfoods now when I'm giving up sugar and eventually giving up wine. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to
it. So you're giving up wine mostly because of the sugar? That's your primary
I am.
reason for trying to give it up?
I am.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the sugar, and I actually switched to all natural red wine because it made me feel better, and but I still have to give it up because of the sugar. I mean, looking at the bottle of wine, I'm not certain how much sugar is in it, but I'm pretty sure it's not that great for you as compared to a salad.
That is for sure. And I think by cutting out wine, it's certainly not going to do you any harm, and I think it could only help you. I mean, I do say to your listeners, even with wine, if sugar is not a concern, in moderation, right? I don't think a lot of people might be aware of what moderation is, as defined by, the National Institutes of Health and some of the big agencies that have put out their recommendations on it. But moderation is described as, up to 1 drink per day for women and up to 2 drinks per day for men, and no more than 5 to 7 in a week. So there are anything over that is considered excessive drinking. So a little bit is okay, but I think if we choose to cut it out, I think there's only going to be a benefit from that, like you're choosing to do, because alcohol does eventually convert to sugar.
Yeah, there's only going to be a benefit, and my liver can't take it. It can only take so much. My liver took a lot in the 90s, so now as I get older, I want to save my body because of my pre-existing condition and CP, which I've had since 87. I was born with it. And so now I am getting smarter to save my body and increase my exercise, decrease my sugar intake. And so when I give up wine, which will be starting next May, and so maybe even in September, if I can force myself, it will definitely be next May that I start giving up wine. But if it's in September, I can basically make myself go cold turkey. I did it with refined sugars, so I just have to be mindful that I have to drink water instead of wine, which will be better on my liver anyway. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to start it next May, which is next summer, 2019. Although if I can do it earlier, in September 2018, I will be doing that, and I will be cutting it cold turkey. I did not go to a dietitian to cut sugar out. People are amazed that I did that, and so I will be doing the wine cold turkey now that I know that I can do it. I just have to be mindful and can't get grumpy about it.
Well, I wish you all the strength in the world there, and I would say don't be too hard on yourself. If May turns into July or August in a little bit, but it's certainly admirable. And even if it's again, there's not a tremendous amount of sugar in wine. It's a low amount, but there is a little extra sugar. I think, what do they say? It's about a gram of sugar in a glass of red wine. But sugar, and if it doesn't make you, I don't think you're going to feel any worse from cutting it out. Most people that I know have cut alcohol out tend to feel a little better. So I think it's an admirable choice, and I think it would only go to serve you there.
Well, thank you, Greg, and I will keep everyone updated on my health journey. The reason why I cut sugar out is because I gave up teaching preschool, which teaching preschoolers, you guys know this who teach preschoolers, they make you sick every week. So I decided now that I'm teaching third grade, now that my immune system is healthy, I could give up sugar and then eventually give up wine. I just needed to get my immune system back to 90% and not give it cold every single week. And then I will start getting myself to cut refined sugars out completely. Well, I did the first giant step, and Grant, I had a big sweet tooth like you. I hate to admit it, but we all had a big sweet tooth here on this phone call until we had to do something.
Yeah. Starts with that first step like anything else, and just the feeling that we get. There's most people that I know that were intentional about cutting sugar out of their diet or cutting it down, never had a regret. I've never heard a story of someone regretting that choice. And over time, you don't even miss it. Like, I don't eat as many sweets now, and I don't even miss them. Yes, I love sweets. I really do, and I'll let myself go at a holiday function because I want to practice what I preach around, the moderation over strict abstinence. But I don't have the same cravings, even though they're still there, and I can still enjoy it. I just don't miss it the way I thought I would, and I feel so much better. I have more energy. I feel more alert, and this is what I hear from any one of my clients that has done the same, or anyone that I know who has done that. So it's, and again, I'll say it one last time. I can't emphasize that enough because there is confusion around it. So for any of your listeners, it's the, cutting the refined sugars. Those are the bad sugars. The good sugars, there are some people that maybe take it too far and they even cut out all, they want to cut out fruits. my opinion, bad idea. Fruits come with the good sugars and fiber to help us digest and process. It doesn't have the same response when it comes to our blood sugar level. It's still it's sugar, but it's kind of sugar that our body processes a lot more naturally. So no need to give up on the fruit. Continue to enjoy those fruits and those even if you take a mango, which is one of those. Do you like mango, Win? Are you a mango fan?
Yes, I'm a mango fan. I'm a peach fan. Give me a bowl of peaches, make me the happiest girl on the planet. And no, seriously, give me a bowl of peaches, make me the happiest girl on the planet. But the only problem with my favorite fruit in the world is it's only good in the summer season.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to get. What's your favorite fruit? Yeah, being peaches, unless you're gonna.
My favorite.
By the time you get them in the winter time.
Peaches. It's the winter time. It's like not happening. So
either they're too expensive or they're too bruised. But then you get them, right?
No, they're too bruised. And they're too expensive. God, they're too bruised and they're too expensive. But I think my new winter fruit is, which I had this morning, so it's all year round fruit, is going to be strawberries because I have to come up with winter fruit to replace my favorite fruit on the planet, which is a peach. So I would say give me a bowl of peaches, make me happy, but give me a bowl of strawberries also make me happy. So what Greg and I are saying is you don't have to cut out the sugar completely. You just have to do it in moderation. I cut it out. Greg cut it out only because we had a big sweet tooth, and that's a huge issue. And so, but you guys don't have to cut out the sugars completely because natural sugars you can't cut out. I'm pretty dead positive that a bowl of peaches has sugar in it, but they're natural sugars. We're talking about the refined sugars that come in peanut butter cups or the Reese's Pieces candy bars or the Mars bars or the everything else in those vending machines that I walked by yesterday, and they screamed at me. I'm like, well, luckily I don't have my wallet, and luckily my dad didn't see me stare at the vending machine, and it's hard when you give up sugar, but the natural sugars replace it. So before I let you go, Greg, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do. One of them I was curious as to if today you have a hero, and if you do, who is it? I know it seems to be there's a shortage of heroes out there for a lot of people, and I was just wondering if you had one, someone that you would consider to be, or even someone in your past that would be a hero, and if so, who?
Well, I actually mentioned my hero. It would, and I'm going to give it you two because I think the second one is more prevalent than the first one. My first hero would be my mom because she got me on this, even though she didn't see me give up refined sugar, she got me on this I love veggies kick. So, which growing up in the 90s and being a child with cerebral palsy, getting any child to eat their veggies is difficult. But my mom had it really easy with me because I love veggies, still do, and would eat a salad every single day if you gave it to me. And so I would say my first hero would be my mom. My second hero would actually surprise everyone. Serena Williams. Serena Williams, because she is at the top of her game athletically, and talk about exercise, giving up refined sugar, replace it with exercise. I think I gave up refined sugar. I replaced it with rock climbing by accident. So that's why I say Serena Williams, because I know a lot of kids look up to her, but Serena Williams is one of my heroines because she's at the top of the game athletically, and we're trying to get kids to get up and move. We're trying to get kids off the couch this summer and off the video games this summer, and it's difficult because they wanna, now I teach too, but they wanna take away PE and the arts and everything else. They just want these kids studying. They don't want to send these kids to music class. One of the core philosophies that I teach is the arts, thank God, because we have a fairly unique PE program, we have a fairly unique arts program, which I'm involved with. I'm actually part head of, and so I just feel like we should get kids up and off the couch and up and off the screen time. So I'm the unconventional teacher that does not like screen time. I have a lock on my phone, and I also have screen time prevention for myself, so I don't get addicted, because screen time is becoming a huge addiction.
Huge problem. Yeah, I have 3 kids, and I'm witnessing it play out, and it's all around us, and it's becoming a real problem that's spilling over into so many areas. Cognitively, it affects attention spans, it affects lack of exercise, it affects postures. You know, people are now literally, their shape of their spine is beginning to change because they're hunched over so often looking at their smartphone. So there's a lot of harm out there with looking at these screens, the amount we do, and it's something we really have to address. And I applaud you for the attention to the kids and getting them moving, because there's a really frightening stat out there that comes from the Centers for Disease Control, and I often include this with my presentations to illustrate where we're going, the direction, unfortunately, we seem to be heading in this country. And that is, in 1994, there was 13% of the children in this country had some kind of chronic illness. Well, fast forward 24 years later, and 27% of all children have chronic illness. So that rate is almost doubled. So every child under the age of 18 now in the United States suffers from at least one form of chronic illness. That could be diabetes, again, cancer, heart disease. It's arthritis. It's a very serious, especially when we know how preventable most of these chronic illnesses are now. So, and that's attributed, many people attribute that spike in chronic illness for the kids in inactivity. We're just not as active as we used to be in days of yore. So it's a big problem out there.
And I also had a friend die of cancer in the 90s, so that really put a perspective on my life. She, and this is public knowledge, she came to school one day, the next day she woke up, discovered, the parents discovered bruises all over her body. When it wasn't child abuse in the first place, it was childhood leukemia. And she passed away at the early 1994. So early 1993, sorry, because she wasn't even alive when I was in kindergarten. This child passed away in preschool of childhood leukemia, and at the time we didn't have awareness of childhood leukemia or any cancer, so that losing a classmate of mine to that in preschool really put a perspective on my life. And she knew, the parents of my preschool class all knew that I had cerebral palsy, which is a pre-existing condition as well. So, and my teachers knew it too, but dealing with that as you're trying to learn your ABCs, and I believe except for one teacher, the rest of the teachers pushed it under the rug, and we didn't necessarily find out until we got to kindergarten that this person passed away, and the family's still here in Aspen, Colorado. But it was really interesting because at the time we didn't have cancer awareness like we do now, and so I'm the biggest fan of cancer awareness, and I just hope these kids don't get cancer because of the technology and the screen time issues. So that's why I'm a big proponent of less screen time, because I've experienced the watching a friend of mine die in the 90s of cancer, and she was young too. And so age 3, she passed away of cancer. And I'm the unconventional teacher. You guys know that by now. I'm the unconventional teacher, and I am walking away from my job in the next 2 years because of the paycheck. I can make more money off my books and more money off my speaking and the podcast than I can teaching. And so I'm walking away from a 9-to-5 job in the next 2 years. You guys know that. And so, but teaching will always be in my heart, and I'm the unconventional teacher. And that being said, I love Gregg and his wisdom, and please go buy his book on Amazon. Please go buy my books on Amazon, and please go buy my books in the iBook store, and please just share this podcast out. I know we talked about giving up sugar. I know it's hard for some of my listeners to give up sugar, but Gregg and I did it, so you guys can do it. You guys will have to do it because, and you guys will have to give up screen time, because in this country it's getting worse, not better.
That is true. We have to be, there's an expression out there, self-care is the new health care. And as you talked about with your mom in the hospital, like you mentioned, with your mom, it's the healthcare system is so badly broken. We want to try to avoid it when we can. Obviously, there's situations where we cannot, especially for acute care, emergency care. We get hit by a car, we have a heart attack, but there's been, it's such a disaster out there that the more we can take responsibility. And again, with what we have, right? Like, we all have I'm at higher risk for cancer. Because both my parents had it, doesn't mean I'm going to get cancer. And so a lot of people get scared, or they think that they're going to get one of these scary illnesses. And we have more control than we might think about that. And again, I'm not talking about the congenital stuff, because that's stuff we're born with, as you know very well, Wynn. And even there, we can still, increase our experience with managing the congenital diseases and enjoying our life even more, because we're healthier in our walk with whatever illness we have. So there's always a case for trying to be more of our own health advocates rather than, depending on a broken system that's overloaded and where it's fraught with mistakes and misdiagnoses. And I'm not picking on the medical community, but there's certainly more stories than ever now that show that we have to be careful out there and cautious.
And the reason why I also get sugar is because of my weakened lungs, and I'm at higher risk for asthma than the average person, because my cousin has it. She has sports-induced asthma. My grandfather died of asthma. My mom almost died of asthma. She died of the meningitis, as I said, but her father died of asthma in the 60s. So I have, plus I have weakened lungs on top of my CP, so I'm at high risk of asthma than the average person, because I have a family history of it. So that's why I also gave sugar to help my lungs out.
Well, that was wise. That's another.
Yeah.
Right. You're just, taking that sugar out again. We're just, you look at the importance of all our organs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and by decreasing our sugar load, we're just allowing especially that processed sugar load, we are really allowing our organs to function as best they can, and we're giving them that freedom and space rather than crowding them with all that, bad. That's one thing that when our liver gets overloaded with sugar, it in our pancreas, it gets confused, it doesn't know what to do with it all, so it actually stores it as fat, and it's an unhealthy fat. So again, it's only going to be benefited by anyone who just chooses to follow you, Wynn, and me, and try to cut that sugar down.
Your advice too. Your advice, and as I said, please take those copies of our books on Amazon, and please leave reviews for I Come a Win and Gregg's book, because this is crucial. And with the political climate right now, I think the healthcare system is more broken than ever. I'm just saying that. I'm stating that on my podcast. Now you guys can send me all the mean tweets and mean emails that you want. And you can send it to Gregg to get off the house kick. No, but Gregg and I will never, ever be off the house kick, and I'm sorry. You guys can unsubscribe from this podcast, but Gregg and I don't want to go into the hospital because the hospital system is broken. I mean, I told you, they fed my mom sugar. They literally fed my mom sugar, and I'm like, well, if she was not in the States, she would kick the nurses. I know, because she loves her veggies just as much as I do. And so, when they literally feed people sugar in a hospital, something is majorly wrong with that picture. And so, the day I rolled down there, I said, I'm giving up sugar. I don't know when, but the day I rolled out of after watching it die, which was August 11th, 2010, and the day I rolled out of it, I said, I'm giving up sugar, I'm protecting my lungs. I made a mental list. I said, well, if this is how the healthcare system treats a woman in her 50s, then I don't want to be in here unless I have to be. So, and granted, I've had so many surgeries over my life, it's not even funny. So I've been there, done that. But I'm like, preventative health was number one.
Well, that's great to hear that. And, I think another message is to try to encourage people to be less dependent on their doctors for their health, right? That's a place to go in an emergency, and not to be reliant on. And I think a lot of people, I think there's a lot in our society that had that backwards. And this is where I'll defend doctors. It's not a doctor's responsibility to keep us healthy. It's our own responsibility.
No.
They're not trained often in nutrition and wellness. They don't have that knowledge. They're there to fix, and in this system we have, they're mostly there to prescribe. Most doctors are trained to pull out that white script and write up a medication. So they don't really have that training. There's a great area of medicine I would encourage everyone to explore if they haven't already, and that's functional medicine that really looks at root causes of things and of illnesses, and it really tries to get look at what's behind that disease in our body, rather than just treating it with some pharmaceutical drug that just masks the symptoms but doesn't ever address the underlying cause. So, and come with all these side effects that many medications come. And there are medications that are good, and I'm not throwing out all medications. I'm just saying that there are a lot of medications that are there to treat rather than to focus on curing and identifying root causes. And is it okay for any listeners that want to learn a little bit more about my book, or if I could share my website?
Yeah, go ahead.
And the title of the book, if anyone's interested out there, it's Progress Over Perfection. It's 16 Simple Steps to Reclaim Your Health and Well-Being is the title of the book. And my website, where you can get the book, or on Amazon, but my website is GreggCRoberts.com, and that's Gregg with two G's, GREGGC Roberts.com. So.
Yeah. And I appreciate Gregg coming on this podcast. How I got Gregg's wisdom is Gregg and I share the same publicist. Yes, I said publicist. Yes, I do have a publicist, because I figured it was a two-way street. And so my publicist, Holly and Lucy, gave me Gregg's name, and I said, I love his message, so we set it up. They set it up for me, so I thank those two for setting it up. So that's how you got Gregg's wisdom this morning, and that's how you got my health tip wisdom too, because I am the unconventional teacher who's trying to keep myself healthy and keep my kids healthy and healthy as well, the kids that I teach. And so please, 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 please share this episode out and look for the sponsor in the show notes. Definitely buy Gregg's book. Definitely leave a review. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Win with Gregg. And let Gregg know your feedback. And if you need to get a hold of him, I'm sure his email is on his website. And let's take this health journey together. Thanks, you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Wen. I appreciate being on your show.